So hey everyone, and in this video we are going to learn about use callback hook. So first of all, let's create a file for that. So I'll just create a directory, and inside this I'll just create a file use callback ex.js. Okay, and I'll just say that we have this component and I want to show it inside this app. Okay, so use callback ex, that's it. So now let's first of all see how it exactly looks. So you can see use callback ex is here, right? So now I can just say here we have suppose got a button. Okay, so I'll just say that we have some hook values. I'll just say const count, and set count is like this. Okay, so I'm just sending it like this, and I would just say suppose we have to show the data, so I'll just say we have h1, and which would again show the value of count, and we have a button which would allow me to increment the value of count. So you can see that it would allow me to increment the value. It's very easy. Okay, but now let's create some component which would be called inside this. Okay, so I'll just say my comp1.js. Okay, and okay, I did something wrong, so I have to name it like capital M. Okay, my component one. Okay, right? So now if I write RAFCE, okay, yeah, guys, just change it to capital. Okay, names must be starting, function component names must be starting from capital. Okay, that's it. So what I'm saying is I just want to call it here. Okay, suppose I want to call it here. So my component one, I want to call it here. So you can see that it's actually okay. The file path was wrong. So you can see that my component one is wrong. My component one is now called. You can see this is a warning, but yeah, it would be on. Now I would simply say whenever this component is rendered, I would just print this. Okay, console.log my component one is rendered. Okay, so now let's see if I just if I just inspect, and I would just go to console. If I just reload, so you can see my component one is rendered. If I increment, you can see again it's rendered, again it's rendered, again it's rendered. So you can see that this increment button is not related to my component one function. You can see that this part is separate and this is separate, but still this is rendered again and again. Even if I'm incrementing this part is rendered again and again. So that's an issue. That's an issue. So this can be easily solved by using memo here. Okay, so I would just remove this and I would just type memo. Okay, so it's a method in Reactjs. If you write it like this, so you would see that now if I just reload, and now you would see it's not rendered again and again. Okay, so you can see that first of all it would fix like this, but this is beneficial for values. For example, we have some value, let a equals 10, and I'm just passing this a as a prop to this, so just pass a here, for example. Okay, and suppose I want to just get the value of a, so I would just say that we would just get it from this, and I would just try to print this. So you can see you are getting 10. Okay, if I just reload this and if I increment this, you can see it's fine. I'm just getting the data only one time. That's fine. But suppose instead of this value we have some function, so I'll just say let my func1, and which is doing something. Okay, which is doing something. So you just say my func1 is called, and you would just pass this function. Okay, so you'll just say that my func1 is sent to this. Okay, so you just send this again to this as a parameter. Okay, so now you would just reload. So you can see if I increment, you can see it's called again and again. Why? Because you are calling this function. What actually happens is whenever you just make a change, this function is redeclared, and since there is a change, automatically this component would be called. That's the problem. So to solve that problem, we actually use the use callback hook. Okay, so now to solve this problem, you simply need to add the use callback hook here itself. I would be adding it, so I would just type use callback, and then after this, inside this I just need to add some brackets like this. Okay, and then I would simply paste that arrow function, and then I just need to add empty brackets. That means I only want to call this function once this is rendered. After this I don't want to call it. Okay, so that's use callback. Once you call the use callback, what would actually happen is, so if I just now reload, first of all, if I click on this, you can see that now it's not calling that function again and again. So that's the benefit. So use callback would actually help us to avoid unnecessary callbacks. That means you won't be calling it again and again for no reason. Suppose there was some change, exact big change, then only this function would be called. Suppose for example, this time I want to just call that function, I would just say my func1. Okay, so I have just sent this function, so my func1, from there I have sent a function, right? So I would just call that function. Okay, so in that case, so now if I just click on increment, so you can see it's not called, it only calls once. Okay, that means you can see it's not called again and again. Okay, so that's the benefit of use callback. It's very easy to use and it would help us to make our application faster, since it's avoiding unnecessary callbacks, unnecessary renders. It won't be rendered again and again. Okay, so if I talk about use memo is useful for just values, but if I talk about use callback, it's useful for functions. Okay, for avoiding function callback again and again, you would be using use callback. Okay, so I hope you understood the difference between use memo and use callback. They might sound similar and use might be similar, but the difference is use memo is used for only values like this, and use callback is used for both values and functions. Okay, so that's why we used use callback here. Okay guys, so I hope you understood the purpose of use callback, and it would be definitely helpful for enhancing the performance of your application. That means it avoids unnecessary callbacks, unnecessary renders of your application. So I hope you understood this video. I will see you in the next one. Till then, see you. Good day. Bye bye.